Animal Crossing is a franchise that is a perfect way to unwind after an extremely stressful day. I remember spending countless hours in Animal Crossing Wild World on the Nintendo DS. The series is just cheery, colorful, and relaxing with its slow-paced gameplay and happy surroundings. Except for Rossetti, he's just never happy. You get a fish, dig up fossils, plant trees and flowers, design your own house, and of course, pay off your pesky debt to Tom Nook. These are some of the things that make the Animal Crossing experience so fantastic. While there is no specific end goal, the variety of activities keeps fans coming back to their towns for months or even years to see what new things are crack-a-lacking in the world of anthropomorphic animals. The Big N has now taken the Animal Crossing franchise in a new direction with a spin-off installment on the Nintendo 3DS called Animal Crossing Happy Home Designer. While it's still a simulator like past entries, it strips away most of the familiar life aspects of Animal Crossing, such as fishing, accumulating bells to buy new items, and so on, and just focuses on one thing: designing houses. Go figure, it's right there in the title. Yes, you'll now be working as an employee of Nook's Homes and taking on requests from the myriads of Animal Crossing folk you come to love or despise. Every single one of them wants a house built for themselves, and as a slave to Tom Nook, you've got to build those stinking houses. But besides fulfilling the villagers' demands, you'll also be designing several public facilities like a school, music hall, and hospital, which for all intents and purposes basically amount to more elaborate homes. That is essentially the gist of the entire game. So does this idea of focusing on designing houses actually culminate into a worthwhile experience? Well, sadly, no. It's a very polarizing game, and it's most certainly not going to be for everyone, even if you like Animal Crossing. I'll explain why later, but first off, let's begin with the positives. On the one hand, Happy Home Designer's presentation is very well done. The visuals aren't brand new to the eyes, as the game is using the same engine from Animal Crossing New Leaf, but that doesn't mean it looks bad. Rather, the opposite is true. Animal Crossing has a unique visual style that just oozes charm and colors and puts you in a serene mood. The same is true for the cast of animal villagers, who come in a variety of shapes, sizes, and personalities. They will come up with some off-the-wall zingers that will no doubt get a chuckle out of you as you talk to them around town, such as when one animal confessed to me how great laser tag would be in a department store. And of course he's right. The graphics are only half the story though, as a pretty well-arranged soundtrack rounds off the game's presentation. If you've experienced an Animal Crossing game, you know the musical vibe that will be present here. It's happy, bubbly, calming, and even humorous at times, as you visit the music hall and listen to villagers sing. Happy Home Designer does grace your ears with new tracks, and I especially enjoy the title screen theme with the wind instruments in full force, and also the end credits theme as you get serenaded by a keyboard. Gameplay wise, placing furniture in an Animal Crossing game has never been easier. Before, it could be quite time consuming, as you had to open your inventory, put the item on the ground, and then have your avatar slide it around the room for each and every individual item. As a game that focuses strictly on this mechanic, Happy Home Designer streamlines the process immensely. Via the handy-dandy touchscreen, you can drag and drop the objects anywhere in the room, and by simply tapping them, you can change their orientation. Plus, you can even move multiple objects at once by grouping them together. And hey, if you need to make duplicates of a specific item, you can hold down one of the triggers and tap that item, and poof, you've got yourself a copy. The hotkeys, so to speak, actually remind me of Super Mario Maker, and that's most certainly a good thing. The new touchscreen controls makes designing houses a cinch, and hopefully they'll be implemented into future Animal Crossing games. Seriously, they're super user-friendly. Alongside that though, the game goes crazy with customization. From where you want the houses to be built, their layout, their landscape, and everything in between is totally up to you. You can even change the type of window curtains you want to see in the houses, or even change the design of an item. It goes that in depth. There's also an overwhelming amount of objects in the catalog at your disposal, and you just keep unlocking more and more as you continue taking on clients. The types of houses you will make are only going to be limited by your own imagination. Now, Animal Crossing Happy Home Designer is definitely not all hunky-dory. In my opinion, there is quite a huge flaw in the game design. I wanted to start off this review with all the positives so I didn't sound like a negative Nancy who just wanted to bash the game like no tomorrow. It certainly has things going for it, but it definitely takes a turn for the worst when you get down to the nitty-gritty of the gameplay. Nintendo gave the whole designing aspect really no purpose. And since that is what the entirety of the game is about, I mean that is seriously all you do, it turns out to be a humongous deterrent to something that could have been pretty neat if executed better. Let me explain. Each villager will want their house to be decorated a certain way. For example, Tangy wants her house to be fruit themed, so you would assume that you would need to stick within those parameters or else you would get punished, but that is just not the case. All that is required of you to complete a house is to open up the few moving boxes that are sitting there when you walk in, and kablamo, the villager thinks you made a beautiful mansion. I put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into this one. You seriously don't have to do anything else besides opening the boxes. There's no feedback from the villager and no grade on your decorating skills. Nada, zilch, nil. The parameters for designing a house are way too obtuse. You can put whatever you want in the house as long as you open the moving boxes, and that just ruined it for me. I was hoping that this was only going to apply to the first few villagers as a way to wean players into the game, but unfortunately it doesn't change. It makes you think, why in the world do I need to make this insanely detailed house when the occupant will still love it when it's lifeless and void of anything? So really, what the character wants doesn't really matter. It all comes down to your own personal taste. It's like you're playing dress up, and I don't want to play dress up. Plus, what you get for finishing a house is a new emotion to spam. Yippee! There's virtually no challenge or skill involved in Happy Home Designer, and that's a huge bummer, because Nintendo could have made something great here. For one, it would have been fantastic if the Happy Home Academy came out to grade your masterpieces like they would your house in past Animal Crossing games. Or maybe they could have had bells play a major part in the gameplay, instead of allowing you to grab anything you want for free in mass quantities until the floor is littered with gyroids and banana peels. Like, what if you had an allowance where you could only spend so much, but still try to meet the villagers' expectations? There's concepts that Nintendo could have tweaked here to make the home designing engaging, but what we are left with is really dull. As I said earlier, I love how easy it is to design the houses, but Nintendo gives the player so much freedom that it feels like you're not accomplishing anything. Now, one of the features that is being advertised for Animal Crossing Happy Home Designer is the Amiibo functionality with the new spiffy Amiibo cards. They're Amiibo, but in card form, which means they're cheaper to make and cheaper for the consumer. The Amiibo support for Happy Home Designer is honestly not very interesting. Each Amiibo card has one out of the hundreds of Animal Crossing villagers on it, and by using that card in the game, you'll be able to build a house for that specific character, including Tom Nook, KK Slider, and so on. I got the Lottie Amiibo card with the game, which means I get to make a house for Lottie. The funny thing is, you make a house for Lottie as a tutorial in the beginning of the game, but hey, you can redesign it. So with the Amiibo cards, you are designing a house just like if you were for just a random villager you meet in town. But again, there's no sense of accomplishment to it, and it's not really fun. Other than that, when you visit one of the villagers' houses you've built, you can use an Amiibo card to invite that specific Amiibo character over to the house, and they kinda do things, like walk around. So is Happy Home Designer chock full of replay value just like past Animal Crossing games? Well, yeah, it definitely is, since there's hundreds of villagers you can build houses for, but the fatigue is no doubt going to set in, considering how repetitive the gameplay is. You can only build so many houses without any real challenge for so long. In the end, this spin-off entry in the Animal Crossing series has left me quite dumbfounded. I want to like it, but I just can't. And I'm not trying to be pessimistic because it's not a core Animal Crossing game. I don't care about that. If it's a spin-off and the game is overall fun to play, then it should be embraced. That just doesn't happen with Happy Home Designer. I love the snappiness of designing homes, I enjoyed the presentation, and the villagers can be fun to listen to, but when you spend time with its core gameplay, it is sadly quite a snooze. If anything, it's a super duper niche game. So in all, Animal Crossing Happy Home Designer is a 3DS title that is hard for me to recommend, and sadly, I think you should skip it. Let's just hope that Amiibo Festival, which is the next Animal Crossing spin-off, pulls off its concept a bit better. But that will bring us to the end of this review, and if you like what you saw, please give this video a thumbs up, add it to your favorites, and all that good stuff. But I will talk to you all later in the next video, guys. Bye!